Okay, so I just want to take you through a few of the features of iMovie, which is quite a good piece of software to create your vodcast if you want to use things like pictures or show quotes coming on the screen, use audio, and particularly if you don't want your own face to show in your vodcast, if you just want to have other things. So this is a really good space that you could do that. So if you go into Launchpad, go into iMovie. So if you've got a Mac, you'll have iMovie. It's the little star. And when it opens, usually it opens with projects. If it doesn't, click on projects and you'll be given the option to either create a new movie or a trailer. So you want to create a new movie. If it doesn't display this way, you'll see there's a little plus sign that gives you the same option. So you want to create a movie. The next thing it does is it gives you some themes to choose from. Now, I'm just going to go with no theme. We're creating a vodcast. Some of these themes aren't going to be relevant for your vodcast. So let's go down here and hit create. Then we give it a name. I'm going to call it Vodcast. Okay. So now what iMovie does is it creates this project called Vodcast. So anytime you close iMovie and come back in, if you go into projects, you'll see there it is. There's my project I've begun. It automatically saves. So if you don't finish, you can go back and forth. So I double click it and open it up. This is my workspace. This is where you're going to create it's like a timeline. So if you haven't used film editing software before, you're just creating a timeline where you're putting things, pulling them down here in order that you want them. So this is what you see on the video line. This is what you hear on the audio line. So if you're beginning your vodcast, you probably want to start with a title with the name of your text. So if you click on titles, it gives you all these options. You can play around. Some of them display differently. So let's just say I'm going to go with this one. Okay, so I double click on it. Over here is where I can type. So I'm going to type. I'm going to pretend that I'm creating a vodcast on Macbeth by William Shakespeare. Yes. Now, of course, it's a text title. Needs to be italicized, so let's do that. If I want to change anything up here with my font size or my font, I can do that, but I'm happy with this. So what iMovie does is when you create a title, it just gives it a particular length of time. But if I want it to stay on the screen longer or shorter, all I have to do is click on it down here, so it's got the yellow box around it. If I hold my little mouse right over the edge, so I can see the arrows, it gives me the option to trim or extend. So I can literally make it longer, drag it, make it shorter, let's say about here. And anytime I want to watch what I've created so far, if I click back near the start, I can right click and just play and it'll show me. That's what's going to appear. Macbeth by William Shakespeare. Great. But now, because I want to make it really interesting and engaging for my audience, I want some audio to go along with it. So if I click up here on audio, what I will see is that there's iTunes. So if you've got any songs saved in your iTunes library on your Mac, they will all appear here. I don't actually have any songs on this Mac, that's why there's nothing there. But let's say this was a song. I just click on it so it's blue, drag it down onto my audio line. So I'll show you the same thing. Sound effects, it's exactly the same. So it's got all these little sound effects, heaps of different ones. I'm just going to pretend that I've chosen a piece of audio that I think will work really well for Macbeth, for what I'm trying to convey. I don't actually know what this is, but let's pretend. So I'm going to grab it and I'm going to pull it down onto my audio line. I'm going to make it start at the same point as my little title so that I have my audio going at the same time. As you can see visually, the audio goes for longer than the title does. So I could either click here, drag my title right across to fill up all of that space, or I can click on my audio so that there's a yellow box, go to the very end so that I can see my arrows and trim it back so it ends at the same point as my title. There we go, that's better. And the other thing you can do is, I'll play you a little bit of this, but you'll see that it's quite abrupt the way the music ends. So for example, okay, if you want to fade your audio out slowly, if you click on your audio line, see this little dot here? If I put my mouse so that I'm either side of that dot, like this, you'll see that a little thing comes up that says fade audio out, which is what I want to do. So I click there, drag it back to the point I want it to start fading out, let's say here. And now if I play it from the start, click back here, I right click, play. This is what I've got so far. The music fades. Okay, the music faded out. It was less abrupt. Great. So now I want to add in some video that I've already recorded, maybe on photo booth, as I showed you in the other screenshot. So let's bring some video down here that I've already recorded. So if you click into My Media, this is where you can put all your videos and your photos and everything you want to include in your vodcast so that you can drag them from here down. So the way you get them in here is if you click on this little arrow here, it's going to let you navigate anywhere you want on your computer where you've saved something. So I've got some things on my desktop. I go desktop, I go here's a piece of video that I want to include. So I'm going to click on it and go import selected. Okay, so now there it is. So I want to select the entire clip because I want to bring it all down. So if I want to bring it all down, if I just click this little plus sign, it's going to add it. There you go. There it is. So it's on my timeline. And I don't need to add any audio because there's already audio in my video. So if I play it from here, for example, play.
Hi, welcome to my vodcast. Today I'm going to talk to you about Black Rock.
Okay, that's obviously not Macbeth, but this is just to give you an idea of how you use iMovie. So I've got this video, I'm talking about my persecution text, talking, and now I want to show a quote on the screen. So I go, okay, let's do this. I'm going to go back to my title box. I'm going to choose, let's just say the same one. Okay, now what it's done, because I had my cursor here, it's put it over the top of my video. I don't want it there, so I'm going to drag it over here, select it, drag it over here. That's where I want it. So you can just literally drag things around. It's pretty user-friendly. But I'm not happy with title text here. That's not saying what I want it to say. I'm going to put a quote. Let's see. Will all great Neptune's oceans wash this blood clean from my hand? All right. So, bit of a spelling mistake. There we go. I think that's the quote from Macbeth. Okay, I'm going to change the size. It's too big. All right, so I've got this quote that I want to use. Let's just play it and see if we're happy with that. Yes, all great Neptune's oceans, blah, blah, blah. But there's no sound underneath, and I want to record some audio to go along with that. So if I click on my piece of title, and then I click up here, my little microphone, this is going to let me record a voiceover. So all I do is I hit record. 3 gives me a countdown. Okay. Macbeth says this when he's feeling really guilty about killing Duncan, and it just shows us how guilty, how his conscience is affecting him, that he thinks his hands will never really be washed clean of blood. So it's a metaphor. It's not actual blood, but it's always going to stay with him, the guilt. All right, finished that, press stop. So now I've got this little piece of audio here. I just realised that up there I'd made a spelling error, so let's just fix that. There we go. Okay, so now if I want my audio to start at the same point as this, pick it up, let's drag it. Oops, that's not what I meant. Let's drag it back there. So it's going to start when the quote appears. Now you can also note that the audio I recorded is quite a bit longer than the title. So I can do one of two things. I can click that, make it longer. But the other thing I can do is go, now I want to show a picture that actually goes with that quote. So I'm going to go back up to my media. I'm going to bring in something else from my desktop now. Oh, look, here's a picture I saved. Bloody hand. Let's import that. There it is. Select that. Let's drag it down onto our little video line. Let's let's make it longer. Whoops, there we go. Let's make it longer so that it coincides with what I'm saying to the same point about there. Okay, and now you'll see if we go back and click here and play from here, what have we got?
You hit. Macbeth says this when he's feeling really guilty about killing Duncan. It just shows
Okay,
us
there we go.
how guilty, how his conscience is affecting him.
Blah, blah, blah.
So it's a metaphor. It's
Okay.
not actual blood,
Oops.
but it's always going to stay with him.
And
Finish that.
okay, so we get to the end of that. We're happy with that. Let's hit done. Good. Okay, so as you can see, it's really easy to just grab things, drag them down. You can record audio whenever you, as long as you're clicking on something on your video screen, you can always click on your little microphone and record. So let's say I've got more video here, I've shown another quote, I'm ready to end my vodcast, so I want another final title screen. I'm going to put it here. Let's say this one. I want it, let's click on that, bring it down because I want it actually to show on my video line. There we go. Whatever I'm going to write here, I'm just going to put the end. But with my ending, I want to end with my piece of music as well. So I'm going to go back to the one I had at the start. I'm going to select it. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to click where I want it to be. And I'm going to go paste. Look, there's my piece of music again. I want my piece of music to end where my title does. And it's exactly as it was before, so it's already got the fade out. If I go from here, play my movie. That's my dramatic finale that faded out, the end. Okay, so the final thing you need to do is you've completely finished your vodcast, you're happy with it, you click on this little icon up here and it gives you some options. So the best option is probably just to save it as a file. But if you have a YouTube account and you know what you're doing with that, you can save it as a YouTube video. And once you've done that, you are done. Okay, I hope this helped.